Hey yo, what's good? What's poppin'? Thanks for tuning in. If you like celebrity news with a little spice, a little sarcasm, and a whole lot of hold up, run that back, do me a favor and hit that like button. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and do that too, because the way these stories flip overnight, you do not want to miss the next plot twist. Alright y'all, I'm not gonna waste your time. We need to talk about Cardi B, Stefon Diggs, and the most unexpected person to step into the middle of this whole situation, Diggs' mom. Because the internet is saying Cardi B basically broke down after Diggs' mom dropped an unbelievable message, and when I tell you, the message wasn't even some long paragraph with 10 screenshots and a storytime voiceover. It was a move. It was an action. And sometimes, an action is louder than anything you could ever type, so boom. For a minute now, people have been watching Cardi and Diggs like it's a new season of a show everybody pretends they don't watch. But somehow, everybody knows the plot. 1 minute folks were acting like they're locked in. Then the vibe starts changing. The timeline starts noticing the little shifts. And you already know how social media is. When two famous people stop showing each other love publicly, the internet doesn't just assume distance. The internet assumes damage. And I don't care how many times people say y'all are doing too much, because let's be honest, sometimes the too much is exactly what makes these stories so addictive. People start scanning posts for hidden meanings. Folks start comparing dates. They start doing the math like this is a group project and they're trying to get an A. Then the rumors spread, the theories multiply, and before you know it, everybody's speaking like they were sitting at the dinner table with them. Now, allegedly, things between Cardi and Diggs got complicated. Some people say it was trust issues. Some people say it was the pressure. Some people say it was the difference in lifestyle. And I'm not here to pretend I know exactly what happened behind closed doors, because I don't. But what I do know is the public vibe looked different. And when the public vibe looks different, the internet turns into a courtroom with no judge, no jury, and way too many opinions. At the same time, Cardi has been out here on tour. And I want y'all to really think about what that means. Tour life is not cute and easy. It's exhausting. It's travel, rehearsals, performances, interviews, late nights, early mornings, and trying to keep your energy up in front of thousands of people even when your personal life is heavy. So if you're Cardi and your name is in the middle of a rumor storm, you don't get the luxury of processing quietly. You're processing with a microphone in your hand and a spotlight on your face. And this is where people started saying Cardi was breaking down, because when you're on stage and you're talking spicy and you're talking about not being played with and you're talking about being too grown for games, people are going to assume there's a reason. Even if you don't name a name, people will fill in the blank with the same name they've been discussing all week. That's how it works. The crowd hears one line and goes, oh yeah, she's talking about him. But then, right in the middle of all this, we get the most random, unexpected twist. Diggs' mom, Stephanie Diggs, pops out at Cardi B's concert. Not quietly. Not I'm going to slip in and nobody will notice. No. She posts about it. She documents it. She turns it into a whole little moment like she's getting ready for a big night out. She hits Instagram and asks her followers, heels or sneakers, for @IamCardib tonight? And I'm sorry, but that is not a normal poll. That is not, should I wear red or black? That is a loaded question when your son is rumored to be on the outs with the person whose name you're tagging. Because in celebrity culture, tagging somebody's name while the internet thinks y'all are beefing is basically a headline. It's basically, I said what I said. Then she starts posting the vibe like she's excited. She's showing the outfit. She's showing the energy. She's basically letting people know she's outside and she's having a good time. And captions like ready to party and classes in session had the internet acting like she dropped a coded message in plain sight. Now listen, I'm not saying she did it to be messy. I'm saying the internet will read it as messy whether she meant it or not. That's the problem with doing anything publicly when you're connected to a viral story. The public doesn't just watch your actions. They interpret them, they translate them, they turn them into symbolism. You could sneeze and people would be like, that sneeze was shade. So of course the comments start flying. People are like, oh, she's still rocking with Cardi. People are like, she knows her son fumbled. People are like, that's real grown woman behavior, not being petty. And then the conspiracy crowd shows up like clockwork and says, no, 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 this is strategic. This is a statement. This is a message to Cardi. This is a message to Stefon. This is a message to the internet. And at that point, the story isn't even about Cardi and Diggs anymore. Now it's about the mom. Because when you see a mother publicly showing support to the person the internet calls her son's ex, it flips the narrative. It makes people ask, wait, so what does she know? It makes people ask, is Cardi the villain in this story? Or was she just the one reacting to nonsense? It makes people ask, is the mom disappointed? Is she choosing the baby's mother? Is she trying to keep peace? Or is she quietly saying, yeah, my son messed up? And that right there is why people started connecting it to Cardi breaking down. Because if you're Cardi and you're already emotionally stretched, something like that can hit you in the chest. Because you might be expecting coldness. You might be expecting the other side's family to act like you don't exist. You might be expecting everybody around him to close ranks and treat you like the enemy. So when his mother does the opposite, when she shows up, posts, and looks like she's enjoying your show, it can either soften you or stress you out even more. It can soften you because it feels like support. Like, I see you, I respect you, I'm not blaming you. But it can also stress you out because it drags the story back into the spotlight. It gives the internet a whole new angle to obsess over. And when you're trying to move forward, the last thing you want is a new reason for people to keep talking. Now let's talk about this unbelievable message, because a lot of folks assumed it was going to be a direct quote. Like, she DM'd Cardi, or she posted a paragraph, or she went live and said something crazy. But no, the message was more subtle than that. The message was, I'm still showing love. The message was, I'm still supporting. The message was, I'm not doing that petty stuff. And in the world of celebrity drama, that's unbelievable, because it's not the usual script. Usually, when relationships go left, families pick sides loudly, or they pick sides quietly and just unfollow and disappear. They don't pull up to the concert, they don't tag the artist, they don't ask the public for fashion advice, they don't feed the internet new content. So when she did that, it broke people's brains. Because now the internet has to consider the possibility that behind the scenes, the family dynamic is not matching the public narrative. The internet has to consider the possibility that Cardi is not being treated like the enemy by the people closest to Diggs. And if Cardi is on tour hearing and seeing all this, you can imagine how that might mess with her emotions. Because Cardi is not just an artist. She's a human being, and no matter how tough you are, no matter how confident you are, there are moments where you hit your limit. Especially when your personal life is being turned into content by strangers who don't know you. And let's be real about Cardi's personality. Cardi has always been open, loud, expressive, and very direct. She's not known for sitting quietly while people create stories about her. When she's upset, you usually feel it. When she's happy, you see it. So if the internet is saying she broke down, it could mean a lot of things. It could mean she got emotional behind the scenes. It could mean she reached a point where the stress just hit her all at once. It could mean she had that moment after a show where the adrenaline drops and you finally feel everything you've been holding back. Because that's a real thing. When you're performing, you're in character, you're in survival mode, you're pushing through. But when you get backstage and it's quiet, that's when your body catches up. That's when your mind starts replaying things. That's when your emotions get louder than the crowd. So people see the mom's message and they imagine Cardi sitting there like, what is going on? Because on one hand, it's sweet. On the other hand, it's confusing. And on the third hand, because the internet always grows extra hands, it feels like a new complication. Now, the messy part of the internet also started asking a darker question. They started saying, is this genuine support or is this clout? And I'm not accusing anybody of that, but I'm telling you what people say because the comments are a wild place. Some folks think every move is calculated. Some folks think nobody does anything out of kindness anymore. So they're like, oh, now that the son is dealing with career headlines, the family wants to stay close to Cardi's spotlight. Again, I'm not saying that's true. I'm saying that's the kind of theory social media cooks up when they're bored and a story has too many unanswered questions. Meanwhile, other people are like, no, y'all are weird. She's a grown woman. She likes Cardi's music. She's supporting the mother of her grandchild. She's staying out of drama. And honestly, that explanation makes sense too. But you know what doesn't make sense to the internet? Peace. The internet hates peace. Peace doesn't go viral. Maturity doesn't go viral. We're all good doesn't get clicks. Mess gets clicks. Confusion gets clicks. Choose a side gets clicks. So this turns into a side-picking storyline. People start saying she's choosing Cardi over her son. People start saying she's shading her son. People start saying she knows the truth. People start saying she's sending Cardi a message like, don't let him stress you out. And then you've got people clowning Diggs in the comments like, even your mom is on her side. Now if you're Diggs, imagine seeing that, because that's another layer. We're talking about Cardi's emotions, but what about his? You've got your personal life in the headlines. You've got your name attached to a superstar. You've got rumors everywhere. And then your mom pops out at your ex's concert, and the internet turns it into a storyline where you're the villain and your mom is the narrator. That's a lot, and that's why this story is so messy, because there are multiple pressures happening at once. There's personal pressure, there's public pressure, there's family pressure, there's career pressure, and when those pressures collide, people crack, even if they don't crack on camera. Now, let's talk about Cardi's side again, because this is where the title really comes to life. When people say Cardi B breaks down, they're not always talking about tears. Sometimes breaking down looks like anger. Sometimes it looks like snapping. Sometimes it looks like shutting down. Sometimes it looks like you going quiet and choosing not to feed the internet anything else. And Cardi has been in situations before where she's had to choose between clapping back and protecting her peace. And lately, it feels like she's been trying to protect her peace more. She's been talking about growth, about thinking before reacting, about not wanting drama. So if she's trying to be in that space, then a moment like Diggs' mom showing up could feel like a test. Like, are you going to spiral or are you going to stay grounded? Because think about it. Cardi could easily take that moment and turn it into a headline herself. She could post something slick. She could repost it. She could say, shout out to mom. She could say, tell your son to stop playing. She could go full Cardi and make it unforgettable. But the fact that she hasn't made it a huge thing publicly, at least from what we're seeing, also tells you she might be trying not to add fuel to the fire. And that makes the fans even crazier, because silence is gasoline. When the celebrity doesn't confirm or deny, the internet writes the script for them. So now the internet is building a whole narrative like this. Cardi was hurt. Cardi was trying to move on. Then the mom came with the unbelievable message, and Cardi couldn't hold it together. And people start imagining what breaking down means. Was she crying backstage? Was she overwhelmed? Was she venting to friends? Did she take it as validation? Did she take it as shade? Did she take it as love? And the thing is, all of those interpretations can be true emotionally, even if only one is true factually, because emotions are messy. You can feel grateful and irritated at the same time. You can feel supported and triggered at the same time. You can feel like, ah, and also feel like please don't involve me in the same breath. Now, let's talk about why the mom's presence can hit harder than a statement from Diggs himself. Because if Diggs posts something, people will say it's PR. If he says something, people will say he's lying. If he apologizes, people will say he's only apologizing because he got caught. But when a mother shows up, people interpret it as more sincere. People interpret it as family truth. People interpret it as the real tea. That's why the mom's message is so powerful. Even if she didn't intend it to be powerful, the public treats it like a truth serum moment. Like, oh, she wouldn't be there if Cardi was wrong. Again, that might not be true, but that's how people read it. And I want to point out something else. Supporting someone doesn't always mean you're against someone else. The internet struggles with that concept. The internet thinks support is a weapon. Like, if you support Cardi, you must be attacking Stefon. If you support Stefon, you must be attacking Cardi. But real life is more complicated. A mother can love her son and still think he made mistakes. A mother can support the mother of her grandchild and still want her son to do better. A mother can enjoy an artist's performance and still not be involved in the romantic drama. But because this is celebrity culture, nuance gets thrown in the trash. People don't want nuance. They want a storyline with a villain and a hero. So the internet says the mom dropped an unbelievable message. And Cardi broke down. And now everybody's asking, what happens next? Because once the mom becomes a character in this story, it opens a new door. The possibility that the relationship isn't fully dead. The possibility that the family ties are still warm. The possibility that there could be a reconciliation, even if it's not romantic. The possibility that at the very least, they're trying to keep it respectful for the sake of the child. And that's another reason this could hit Cardi emotionally. Because if part of you is trying to move on, you need the door to be closed. You need clean boundaries. You need a clean break. But when family members stay connected, it can feel like the door is still cracked open. And a cracked door can mess with your head, because now you're wondering what it means. Now I'm going to be careful here, because I'm not trying to play with anybody's real life, but I will say this. High-profile relationships rarely end in a clean, quiet way. There are too many people involved, too many fans, too many headlines, too much money, too much brand value, too many eyes. So when you see a mother show public support, you have to consider that it might be the healthiest thing anybody's done in this whole situation. It might be a sign that at least one person in that circle is trying to be mature and not let the internet turn it into a war. But even if it's healthy, it can still be overwhelming. That's why I keep coming back to Cardi's emotions. Because if Cardi is already dealing with stress and pressure, even a positive gesture can make you emotional. Sometimes kindness hits harder than shade, because you're not prepared for it. And here's another angle. Cardi is used to people choosing sides against her. She's used to people judging her. She's used to being painted as too much. So when somebody connected to the other side shows her respect, it might feel unfamiliar. It might feel like, wait, you're not coming for me? That can break your guard down. Now let's talk about the audience reaction, because the audience is part of this story whether we like it or not. The fans are basically directing the narrative in real time. They're the ones who decide what the mom's appearance means. They're the ones who decide what Cardi's stage talk means. They're the ones who turn tiny details into big moments. And in that sense, Cardi is performing not just for fans, but for a public that's analyzing her facial expressions. That's exhausting. Imagine being in a world where you can't have a normal emotional moment without strangers turning it into a headline and a theory thread. So when people say Cardi broke down, I don't want y'all to picture only one kind of breakdown. Picture the full emotional load. Picture the pressure of being on tour. Picture the pressure of motherhood. Picture the pressure of the public. Picture the pressure of rumors. Picture how one unexpected move, like a mom showing up to your concert, can be the moment that makes everything feel real again. Because when a relationship is rumored to be over, you can sometimes keep it distant in your head. You can tell yourself, I'm fine, I'm moving on. But when a person from that world shows up, it reminds you that it happened. It reminds you that it was real. It reminds you that you were connected. It reminds you that there are still threads. And if Cardi is trying to live in a space of peace, she might not want those threads tugging at her while she's trying to focus. She might not want the world watching her react. She might not want to give the internet anything else to chew on. Now, I'm going to ask y'all the big question, because this is where I need the comments to do what they do. Do you think Stephanie Diggs went to Cardi's show just because she likes the music and she's staying mature? Or do you think it was a deliberate message that she knew would light the internet on fire? And if it was a message, who was it really for? Was it for Cardi, like I support you? Was it for Stefon, like get it together? Or was it for the internet, like y'all can't control me? Because I'm not gonna lie, no matter which way you interpret it, it was a bold move. It was the type of move that tells you this story is not as simple as a clean breakup headline. And the reason the title hits is because the internet loves the idea that Cardi was emotionally shaken by it. The internet loves a breakdown moment because it makes the story feel dramatic. It makes the story feel like a movie, but the real breakdown might not be dramatic at all. It might be quiet. It might be private. It might be the moment after the show when the lights go down and you're finally alone with your thoughts. So I'll end it like this. Diggs' mom didn't have to say a lot for the internet to feel like she said everything. She pulled up. She posted. She tagged. She asked the shoe question. She looked like she was having a good time, and that alone was enough for people to call it an unbelievable message. And Cardi? Whether she broke down in tears, broke down in frustration, or broke down in that quiet way where you just feel overwhelmed, I can understand why this would shake somebody. Not because it's bad, but because it's a reminder that the story is still alive, and the internet is still watching. Drop your honest opinion in the comments. Keep it respectful, but keep it real. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned, because the way these celebrity stories keep evolving, the next twist might be even crazier than this one.